I mean, for anything really usable. And that's what's a shame about like hemp. I mean, what amazes me is how American farmers have been duped into not thinking that hemp would actually really revitalize the farming industry, because you look at the main farmers, they're almost on their way out of business.
Well, it's an education process. They haven't educated the public to the facts of what's really going on here. It's shown that on 6% of the land throughout the United States that's waste-bearing land that's not being used for anything right now, that if we grew hemp on it, there's been a study made that we could replace the petroleum industry.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people, you know, when they hear that, they just think it's a big joke or something, but it's not a joke. We got a, you know, oil crisis here, and at this point, you know, we really do need to find an alternative. And if they're talking about corn and kniff and all different types of plants that we could use, that's good and fine, but if hemp can produce 4 times as much vegetable matter per acre as its nearest competitor, which is actually corn in this latitude, then, you know, what the heck is going on here? Why doesn't the government, you know, make this known to the people? Because if we can produce a methanol type product with corn for, you know, maybe $1.75 to $2 a gallon, and you have another crop that will produce 4 times as much per acre, then it's got to be cheaper.
Oh yeah, just simple manufacturing. Plus, on top of that, what always amazes me is that hemp is excellent for the soil. It helps you know, improve the fertility of the farmer's land. So I mean, there's no downside there. And in Maine, a lot of times, you know, we're seeing where maybe a lot of people want to cut back on the forest, you know, cutting back all the trees. And amazingly, if you had the hemp being processed, you could use it for all sorts of fiber, insulation. I mean,
yeah, it's not like some of these people don't know what's going on, because they do. Maine actually passed a hemp bill either last year or the year before, and it's pretty basic, and it would allow our farmers to grow, but a clause at the very end of it, just like our distribution system and what they're saying about that, is that we got to have permission from the federal government to be able to grow the hemp. And that's the clause at the very end of the hemp bill, is that, you know, yes, we have a hemp bill, but we'll ask the feds if we can do it. And then, you know, the feds are not going to allow us to do it, you know, until they decide they want to change the law. So now they're holding us, you know, they're hostage over this distribution thing, because the feds don't want to do it. And now they're holding us hostage over the hemp bill that our farmers could be using, because we need federal approval.
what's sad is the fact that the states, most people anymore don't seem to understand the fact that you have to protect your individual rights, and they go along, they're almost in tandem with your state rights. And people make this assumption, well, the federal government is always supreme. Well, that's not the way it originally started, and the problem is you have, the thing is, states have as much power as they want to actually basically do. I mean, look at California. They have it where certain counties will say you can have a lot of plants, and the police have been told don't cooperate with the DEA. Now, I'm assuming Maine still, law enforcement still cooperates with the DEA, and so what you have is you have a conflict of interest. You have federal laws which are contrary to the state law that has been passed by a citizens initiative, and the officers are paid by Maine taxpayers, and the officers in Maine should have to follow the Maine guidelines. And other states have passed a rule that says, you cannot be in conflict with a state law. California did that, like at Wham. They said, hey, we're not going to be on with the DEA group anymore because, this is contrary to what the voters have decided for our area.
Well, Maine pretty much did that also by creating their own MDEA.
Right.
They don't have the DEA up here. They have Maine DEA.
Okay.
So they decided that they didn't like some of their rules either.
Good.
So, one of them is the confiscation of people's homes and property.
Yeah.
The feds do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
For marijuana and other drugs and other things.
Oh, yeah.
But in the state of Maine, the people at the legislative level felt that the only people that were going to be hurt by this would be the families of the people that were actually committing the crimes, the mothers, or fathers, depending on who it is, with the children and this and that, would lose the home because of somebody else's mistakes. So, quite some time ago, I think it was like 1992, they were going to vote in that they were going to coincide with what the federal did for forfeitures for marijuana cases, and we went down and pretty much lobbied against that, and got the people on the committees to figure out just what was really going to happen here. This initiative that was brought on by law enforcement was brought on by David Crook from Somerset, Kennebec counties, and he wanted, to have the monies from these houses so that they can run their departments and stuff like that. He didn't care about the kids or the children or the women or even the men in some cases that were going to suffer because they had their homes taken away, and it's ridiculous. The legislature saw that and they decided not to do that, and that's just another thing that we don't do that the feds do. So it shows that we can run our own state. And we should be doing that. The legislators, they just don't seem to have any guts